really just, I'm so psyched that I'm part of this Beachbody community all of a sudden. It's just, you guys are totally exciting, and I just really want to just, you guys to note to yourself how extraordinary it is what you're doing, because so many people long to create lives where they dictate their own lifestyles and the way that they make money. And you guys are you're not only doing that, but you're in a community where you have other people to turn to cheer you on and to share resources with. And I'll tell you, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years now, and I didn't have that kind of community ever, really. So it's such a cool, special thing you're doing. And the whole business is based around helping other people. So I mean, A+s across the board. So it's really exciting. I'm really excited to be here. And before I get started, I would like to just let's all just get our woo-woo on and connect. And just close your eyes if you would, and take a big, fat, deep breath. And I heard a voice coach once describe it as smelling the rose. So when you smell a flower, you breathe way deeper than you do normally. So just smell the rose. Take a deep breath in, and then just let it out. And shed all the craziness of your day and everything you were rushing around doing before making it to this call, and any stress in your face, and just really connect with what we're going to be doing here for the next 60 minutes or so, and connect with everybody else on this call. You are all in an energetic mastermind pod of awesomeness, and really focus on what's here. Open your eyes now. Close them. But I really want to stay connected and focused here. And I'm going to ask you to do something kind of weird, but if you would not take notes during this call, because this is a real call more about feeling and being rather than doing so much. There's not going to be a whole bunch of to-dos. I will say, if you have any aha moments or big fat epiphanies or something you really want to remember, write that down, but no mad scribbling throughout. I want you to be really focused on what I'm saying and to feel into this stuff, because some of it you will have heard before, but as you all know, like, you can hear something a zillion times and then all of a sudden you hear it again, and suddenly the light bulb goes on. So I want you to stay available to that opportunity by just being present instead of taking notes. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending everybody who's on this call a detailed transcript of everything I said. So it'll be in written form, so you can get it there, but you have to sign up at my website so that I know to send it to you, okay? So that URL is 8weeks2badass.com/beachbody. 8weeks2badass.com/beachbody. And I even wrote it down. Oh, goody, it's backwards. Is it? I can't tell. Anyway, I will be repeating this URL at the end. You will be getting the written transcript of this call, as well as information on other trainings that I'm going to be doing in the future. But we're going to be doing a Q&A at the end, so I'll repeat that URL if you missed it. But 8weeks2badass.com/beachbody. All right, so today I want to talk about mindset and the importance of focusing on who you are being versus what you are doing. Because in our culture, it's all about the to-do list and very little about the mindset. And as you Beachbody coaches know this stuff great. I mean, you're constantly motivating people and getting their minds in the right place to go out and shift their bodies and shift their lives. But we really have to go so much deeper into this stuff than we even realize sometimes. So during this call, I'm going to go into 3 specific areas that I think will be very meaningful for your Beachbody businesses as well as your lives in general. And the 3 areas are as it relates to confidence, wealth consciousness, my favorite topic, and motivation. Okay? So when we talk about mindset, it literally means to set your mind. And when you set something, if you set it in stone or you're set in your ways, it means you're not budging, right? So this is why mindset is so critical especially when you're trying to do something that's really expanding your world. Your mindset has to be so solid so that when those challenges come up, it's not a question of if they will, better your mindset is, the better chance you have of plowing through it and suddenly standing in a new reality that you created yourself because you stayed the course. Okay? And I want to bring up a study that I read about a couple years ago that just blew my tiny mind. And it was about this guy who had phantom pain. You know, if you've lost a limb, how you can feel pain in that limb. And this guy, I think he was a veteran, and he'd had his arm blown off, part of his arm blown off. And it was from the elbow down. And so he had this excruciating pain of his fingers digging into his palm and just this real tightness in this arm that didn't even exist. And because the arm did not exist, there was no way for him to relieve the pain. And it would keep him up at night, and it was just awful. And I'm not going to pretend I know anything about phantom pain, but I thought this was a really interesting article that really it set in some of these concepts that I'm going to be talking about. So anyway, so this doctor, this neuropsychologist, went in and did an experiment on him where he took a mirror and he made it look, let's say the guy's right hand had been blown off. And with this mirror, he made it appear to the guy that his left hand was his right hand. So he was able to then, using his left hand, open his hand at last and release the pain and stretch it and release all of this suffering and pain that he had been feeling. And after this experiment, his phantom pain was gone. Now, nothing real on the physical realm happened. This was all in his mind, and it affected his body 100%, right? So this is how powerful this stuff is. And I know that, you know, everybody has heard a lot of this stuff before, and we put it into practice somewhat, but I want you to understand that it is that important. If this guy can suddenly be relieved from excruciating pain just by shifting his perception, think about the stuff you can accomplish, all right? And so one of the things that really gets in the way of opening up and accomplishing this and going deeper are two very dangerous words that we all use all the time. And in fact, I just used them. And these are the words, I know. I know that my thoughts dictate my words, and my words dictate my beliefs dictate my actions. I know that keeping my frequency high will attract like frequencies to me. I know that when I go to the spiritual gym and work out my mind and work on my mantras, that it will shift my reality. I know if I meditate that I'll get more in tune with source, and I'll be able to manifest the things that I've been dreaming of manifesting. You know, but are you really doing it? So during this call, let's pretend you know nothing, that you're just a blank slate, you've never heard any of this before, and you're taking it in for the first time. And just keep that hopeful awakeness and availability to receive it in a whole new way. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that little anecdote about the guy who was, there was a big flood. And he was really kind of stuck up and proud of his relationship with God, because he meditated all the time and he prayed all the time. He's like, yeah, me and God, we are like this. Anything I ask, I got the hotline to the big guy in the sky. I'm cool. Really psyched about his life. So one day there was a huge flood, and you know, water is racing through the town, and one of his neighbors comes by and knocks on his door and is like, Sam, we gotta run. There's a huge flood coming. Let's run up the side of the mountain. And Sam's like, y'all go ahead without me. God's got my back. He's taking care of me. I'm not running up any mountain. So the neighbor runs off and runs up the mountain. Then a little while later, now the water has risen way up to halfway up the house. And this guy comes by in a boat and is like, Sam, get in the boat, get in the boat. The flood is rising. We got to get out of here. Sam's like, I'm cool. God's got my back. Go on your merry way. I'm fine. I'm totally taken care of. Then the water is now at the very tippy top of the house, and Sam is standing on the very top of his roof, and a chopper comes by, and they're like, they drop down the ladder, and they're like, sir, please grab the rope and climb up. And he's looking at it, and he's like, no, go ahead. I'm fine. God's got my back. I'm cool. And then about 10 minutes later, after the chopper leaves, the boat is gone, the neighbor's up the mountain, the water keeps rising, and Sam drowns. And so Sam's up in heaven, and he's all pissed off, and he's like, yo, God, dude, what's up? I thought you totally had my back. And God's like, I sent you the neighbor with the mountain. I sent you a boat. I sent you a freaking chopper. You don't get on the chopper. What do you want from me, buddy? I was apparently raised to think God was a Jewish deli owner from Queens all of a sudden. But anyway, but the moral of the story is we have all of these opportunities and miracles and ways to grow our businesses and expand our lives and shift our perception that are around us all the time. But if we are so set in the flow and the way that we've been doing things all along, we literally do not open ourselves up to see them. This is why people, in the Beachbody community, I'm sure there's people who are, at the emerald or ruby level, and then there's the people who are the diamonds and the star diamonds and all those guys. And let's say that you have someone who's at the emerald level and someone who's at the diamond level. And both of those people are doing the exact same thing. They're taking the same exact sales courses. They're going to all the seminars. They're material. They're calling the same amount of people every single day. But the diamond client is the diamond client, and the emerald is still at the emerald level. If you're actually doing everything the same, you want to really look at where your mind is. It can literally, the difference between emerald and diamond can absolutely be in your mind. And the cool thing about that, well, there's a couple cool things. The first cool thing is doing things. I mean, shifting your mindset versus hauling rocks up the side of a mountain for 48 hours or something. Super fun, super easy, no big deal. And it can happen so quickly. You can literally, you've all had it happen before where the light goes on all of a sudden and then you're like, suddenly the world looks different because you've suddenly just shifted your perception. And suddenly that person that you've been hanging out with while you're looking for love, you realize you're in love with. Or suddenly when you can't find that extra client, that client just somehow magically appears. I see it all the time in my own life. I see it all the time in my clients' lives. So this stuff is so worth taking the time to learn and to master and to work out just the same way you would work your body out at the gym. You've got to go to the mental, spiritual gym to get this stuff really in shape and take it really, really seriously instead of settling in for the I know version of it, okay? So the first area I want to talk about today is your confidence. And what is confidence? Confidence when you confide in somebody. Who do you confide in? It's somebody that you trust and that you respect and somebody that has, some sort of powerful energy around them, right? So confidence just literally means that you view yourself as that person, that you believe in yourself enough to confide in yourself and to rely on yourself in a very deep and important way. And this is and this is something that a lot of people are like, well, I went to high school with this guy. He was just so confident. Like there's just people out there who are confident. They embody it. It's natural. They're loud. They stand up tall. They just have this air of confidence about them that they're born with, right? It's just really who they are, and it's the fiber of their being, and they've just got that thing. Some people just have it, right? Wrong. We all have it. Every single person on this call is confident. It's not something that you go out and get. It's something that is actually in you, and it's your birthright, and it's naturally who you are. This is really important. So you're not lacking in it at all. It's just a matter of stripping away the layers that have gotten in between you, your true self, and this perceived self that thinks that you're not confident or thinks that you're less than, thinks you can't, has a fraud complex, whatever you've got going on. And I also want to say that our culture has created a certain myth around confidence, that it is the big, bold, loud person who can, walk into a party and make friends with every single person upon arrival. You can be very shy and be confident. You can be short and confident. You can be mousy and confident. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's a state of being. It's not something you're doing, okay? So one of the best ways when you're starting out to build your confidence is repetition. And this is, I find, so helpful, especially if you're somebody who really suffers from lack of confidence, and even anybody who's already sort of on their way. Repetition, just keep putting yourself out there, build your confidence muscle. It's sort of like, water beating against a rock. We tend to think that our fears of being seen and our fears of looking like an idiot, or our fears that we can't do well, or whatever we've got that's blocking our true selves, our true confident selves, are just like this big giant wall of rock. And that all these little things that we're doing is just like water splashing up against this rock. But what happens when water splashes up against rock for a really long time? It creates things like the Grand Canyon, tiny little trickle of water that just keeps going, creates one of the most gigantic canyons on the planet Earth. So this repetition, so let's say that you don't feel confident approaching people to be a part of your team. So just taking little baby steps and doing it over and over and over, and becoming the kind of person who constantly talks about your business and is excited and invites people to be a part of it. In little ways, you can start with your friends. You can practice on your friends. Be like, look, I know I've asked you before, you're not interested, but I just need to practice this. So you just practice with a very supportive friend. Practice with your Beachbody peeps. You've got a sea of awesome people to practice with. Keep practicing these conversations and get into the feel of it, and remember why you're excited to be a coach and why you're excited to invite people onto your team, and just keep doing it. And then maybe you start spreading out a little more and you start to approach strangers with it, or other friends. But it's the repetition, and it's the not stopping of it, because when you are something, when you are somebody, when it's part of your being, it's what you do naturally. So when you get into this constant state of repetition and make a point, at the beginning, it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to talk about my business and I'm going to ask 3 people every single day. That is how I'm starting this repetition thing. Okay. So you're going to just start with a certain number, and you're going to demand of yourself. You're going to set your mind that you are going to do this for 3 people every day. And then what happens? 3 people, 3 people, 3 people. Then all of a sudden you're not even thinking about it, and it has become the almighty habit, and it has become a part of you. Okay, so this can happen with reaching out for team members. It can be making sales calls. It can be for whatever it is that you want to gain confidence around. Speaking in public, start small and just repeat it all the time, all the time, all the time. Okay? And so another way to do, to get your confidence really set into your mind and into your being, is to take on a role model. And this is by finding somebody in your world who you really admire, who you feel is so confident. It can be somebody you actually know. It can be your mother. It can be your best friend. It can be a movie star. It can be an author. It can be your child. It could be your dog. I mean, not your dog, but anyway. Doesn't matter. As long as there's something in this person that really resonates with you, and that you just sense their confidence in such a visceral way. And here's the really cool thing about this. When you see somebody who's really confident, the reason that they resonate with you is because they're mirroring you back to yourself. Everything on this earth is a mirror for who we are. It's why 2 different people have a different experience experiencing the same thing, right? We can all go to the same movie. I can think it sucks. You can think it's the most hilarious thing you've ever seen. Same exact movie on the screen. It's mirroring ourselves back to ourselves. So when I say that you're already confident, you would not even be able to recognize a confident person if you didn't have some of that inside of you. Now this works in the reverse. The people who irritate the crap out of you because they are reflecting something that you either are or you fear you are back to yourself. Same reason why some guy who irritates the crap out of you, I think, is the greatest guy on 2 legs, right? What's he mirroring back to us? So with this confidence thing, when you find the person, you've already got that step up, because the reason you think they're so kick-ass is because they are reflecting your very own kick-assery back to you. So When you are in a situation where you need your confidence and you haven't quite grasped it yet, put this person in your place and think about, well, what would he or she do? How would this person hold themselves? What would they be thinking about? What would they maybe say in this instance? And the reason this is so helpful is because it pulls you out of your squirrel brain of all the millions of things that are wrong with you and why this isn't going to work and all your doubt, fears, and worries, and gets you thinking not only outside of your own brain, but about somebody else who you can actually see the details of and see the details of their confidence and then emulate it. We never have to reinvent the wheel, you guys. This is one of my favorite facts about living on this planet. You can always borrow from someone who's gone before you. And the same goes with the confidence thing. Just get the details from that person and put it into practice and just call them forth as your spirit animal when it comes to getting your confidence going. All right? And so, let me see, my last point on that was, and to prepare. It's funny, that's when I look down. To prepare. This is such a no-brainer and something that constantly astounds me when I'm working with my clients, is that you'll really feel a hell of a lot more confident if you're prepared. So the most common one that I hear all the time is about sales, right? I know so many people who feel a lack of confidence around sales. They hate it. They feel like they're being pushy. They're annoying. They're not good at it. So they just do it because they have to. And by the way, I just want to make a little side note here. If you are in business for yourself, which you all are, you don't have a choice about getting this sales thing down. Being in business is being in sales. So you've got to get your poop in a scoop when it comes to this whole thing. You don't have the luxury of hating it or deciding you don't want to do it. I'll do everything else but sales. You ain't gonna have anything else to do if you don't get good at sales. But anyway, I digress. So let's say that that's your big thing. Confidence, sales, not so good at it. But so many times I have a conversation with these people and I'm like, okay, well, have you taken a sales course? And even if they have, they're like, yes, I've taken a sales course. I still suck at it. And I was like, did you take it twice? Have you been reading books about sales? Have you been studying it? Have you been asking people who are really good at it to help you? Okay, so this again falls into the category of I know. And I'll tell you something, the whole I know thing can be a very clever disguise for the I'm scared thing. Because if you know, then you're done. I know, slam. But when you remain open, that's when the opportunities come in, and that's also when the scary stuff comes in. Because when you have signed up to radically change your life and exist in a new reality and take large leaps, those large leaps are going to be kind of scary because you're going to be outside of your comfort zone because you've never done them before. Because if you'd ever done them before, you would be where you want to be right now, right? So bust yourself on this I know thing. See where you can go deeper. See where you can get more prepared. And man, will that raise your confidence, right? Like if you really knew, if you had sales tricks under your belt that you knew worked really well and you had a script memorized and you had connection in your heart and in your soul with what you were doing and you nurtured that and you really had a mindset around the process that you were going through when you were selling, don't you think you'd start to really kick some ass at it? So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about getting prepared. Just figure out, look at any place in your life that you're kind of not that psyched about. Doesn't need to be your business. It could be your personal life. Anything, dating. I can't tell you how many people hate dating and are bad at it. And there's no good men around and everybody's an idiot. I'm too old, blah, blah, blah. Those are really easy ways to slam the doors and not put yourself out there and not take a chance and not take a risk and not maybe fail a couple of times, right? So if you say you really desire something and you're really serious about it, look for ways that you can go deeper. And you guys are in such an amazing community for this, you know? You've got so much support and so many people who've gone before you who are kicking ass, doing the exact same thing you're doing. So again, let us not reinvent the wheel. Use that information. Use them as inspiration. All of that, it's right there in front of you. You can totally do it. It's such an incredible support system you guys have. Okay, so with all of this in the realm of getting your mindset on board, there was a really interesting study done by Dr. Emoto. I don't know if you guys ever heard the study that they did on water. And I don't know what that weird noise is. And anyway, so they did a study on water and how brain waves affect water. And or just about how water is one of the most receptive things we got going on the planet. So this Dr. Emoto, this Japanese scientist, took a water droplet that had just been hurled over a dam, and he put it under a microscope, and what he saw was just like chaos. Like this water droplet was just like all over the place, shards sticking out all over, chaos, crazy looking. Then he took some water droplets and he meditated on them, and he sent them love, and he used soothing words. And when you put those water droplets under the microscope, they were these pristine, crystallized snowflakes, like the most magnificent looking things you've ever seen. And they did this study over and over and over, yelling at them, like sending negative energy and positive energy. And every single time, the crystal forms were magnificent when it was love and positive thinking, and they were a train wreck when it wasn't. So this really is how powerful our minds are. And this, and when you think about it, our bodies are 90% water. So what are we doing to our bodies with these thoughts, these vehicles that take us through this earthly existence, that help us manifest all of these things that we're trying to manifest? If our thoughts are not in line with what we're sending our body out, marching out there to go do, we're really hurting ourselves even more than we know. So please take the time to sit down and look at this stuff and really practice it. Okay, and so one of the ways that you can go to the mental gym and work out your mind the same way that you would your body is by putting aside as much time as you can in the day. Like how often, what do you put aside for a workout? We're busier during certain times than others, but if you're serious about staying in shape, you work out no matter what, right? You find that time. So now that you are an open book, you've never heard any of this before, and you are taking your mindset so seriously, you are setting aside time to work on this. And it's really fun. Like when you make that decision, it's like, you know what? I'm going to start working on my money issues. We're going to get to that in a second. But let's just say wealth consciousness. We'll move into that part of the talk now. Let's say that you are going to be a total badass about making money. You're going to expand your wealth consciousness, grow your bank account, become a certain kind of person who makes a certain amount of money, who almost can't even remember what it was like to be in struggle. This is the person you are becoming, and you are hell-bent for glory on this. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to the spiritual gym. You are going to read wealth consciousness books. You are going to hang out with people who make money. You are going to watch your thoughts, your beliefs, and your words around money, about what you're able to create, about coming from a lack consciousness, right? You're going to meditate. Really get this meditation thing, you guys. This whole water example, meditation is the only way I know to build the muscle of thought control, even if you only do it for 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day, demand of yourself that you meditate, and then you can grow it as the days go on. But man, it is a brutal, crucial part of this, of getting your mind together and being in control in a way that you were put here to be, instead of weighed down by all the doubt, fear, and worry. It's your superhero power, okay? And it gets you in touch with your intuition, and it gets you able to become more aware, because when you are meditating, you suddenly become aware of all the crazy thoughts that do fly into your brain, and you're like, that's uncool. I don't want to think that I don't deserve to be successful, because now that I look at it, I think it's because my parents will be hurt if I'm successful, and whatever crazy stuff I have going on. That's how you start to recognize your limiting thoughts and beliefs. And until you recognize your limiting thoughts and beliefs, you can't do anything about them. So getting into a really good meditation practice creates the silent zone where you notice when a thought comes in. Because when we're running around all day, getting the groceries, dropping the kids off, getting on the internet and all that stuff, those thoughts are still happening, but they don't have they can't be heard above the din. So you take the din out by meditation. And then you can start to notice what's really going on and be like, huh, look at me. Look at that thought that just came in my mind that I actually think is true. I don't want that thought anymore. So I am going to go to the spiritual gym and reverse it and read the books and say mantras and turn it all around. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the specific mental construct around wealth and money in particular. This was a huge, huge, huge deal for me. This was actually how I got started on this whole journey of life coaching and self-help and writing You Are a Badass. And my story was that I was really broke until my early 40s, always scraping by, really just, no matter what I did, I just couldn't bring in the money. And I tried all of these things, I kept trying the same things over and over. Hello, hint number one. And I literally felt like people who made money were a different species than I was. That, people like Donald Trump or just anybody who even owned a damn house was almost a different species. I felt almost like a child when it came to money. And one day I just became unavailable for it anymore. I was so sick of it and so frustrated and I was almost in physical pain about it. Okay. And my desire to change it was fierce. This is so critical. And there wasn't anything that happened in my life. Like there wasn't like I suddenly needed an operation and I needed the money, or, I was going to lose my place to live and I needed the money. There wasn't any cataclysmic awakening that I had, but I just got really sick of myself. It's taking the time. And so I made the almighty decision. So whatever it is in your business or your personal life that you say you want to change, you have to make the decision to change it. It's the most critical part of it. So I got to the point where I was like, all right, universe, help me here. I'm available for whatever you throw at me. I am changing this piece of my life and I'm changing it right now. So I started studying wealth consciousness, and I'll give you the names of the two books that really I read over and over and over. There's a lot of wealth consciousness books out there, but for me, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I have read both of those books 80,000 times. I still read them because I still got to go to the gym, right? You don't get to get in shape and then stop going to the gym. You got to keep going to the gym. I read those books. When I finished one, I'd start the other. I'd finish that one and start the other. I was on it every single solitary morning. I was doing the exercises. I was writing my mantras about what I was creating and how much wealth I needed to create what I wanted. And so there's a really interesting thing that happens with money, especially, and with wealth consciousness. And we don't even realize the consciousness that we exist in our society today. We actually exist in a very sort of old-fashioned wealth consciousness. And this is the consciousness, and we do this with lots of things, by the way. It's amazing how parallel everything is. Your money issues, your money mindset, your intimacy issues, your intimacy mindset. It's all very parallel, and you could substitute one for the other on several different planes. But anyway, one of the big mindsets is that I can't do something until something happens, right? So let's say that let's go back to the sales course example. I want to take this sales course. I know I stink at sales. Jen says I should take a sales course. I'm going to go do it. But I can't because I've got this debt and I can't invest in this course until I pay that debt off. So all the money I have, even though I actually have the money for that course, I can't do it because I got to pay the debt and also my kids' college fund. What about that? So I got to put the money there, right? So now this is a really unpopular thing that I'm going to say, but that's the old mindset, right? We've got it. We are irresponsible if we do not take care of those things before we go spend even more money that we don't have on this other thing, right? How many years will go by if you wait for something to happen before you do the very something that will get you out of there? This is what we're talking about when we say leap and the net appears. I mean, I see stuff on Facebook all the time, all this inspirational stuff, live large, take chances, face your fears, la, la, la. But are people really doing it? And especially around money. And I'll tell you, back in the day when I was struggling and I was so over it and I made the decision to get over my money crap, what did I have to do? The first thing I did, first of all, actually, was become available. So I said to the universe, I said, bring it. I am available. I don't know what it is, but please send me some help, because I clearly don't know what the hell I'm doing, or I wouldn't still be sitting in this crappy apartment. Anyway, so when they say that the teacher appears when the student is ready, right? So I was a student, I was ready, and the teacher appeared. Now, this was a coach who specialized in wealth consciousness, and she was extremely expensive. But that whole thing about when the student is ready, the teacher appears, the teacher has always been there, right? The teacher is basically that boat, that mountain, that helicopter that's coming to rescue you. Always been there, but you're so focused on doing it the way that you've been doing it, or trying the 8 million things that you've always been trying, that maybe if you try harder this time, it'll work, instead of leaning back and opening up and being available for new information to come in. Okay, and this is in the form of taking risks often, because we can sometimes see that helicopter or maybe see that boat, but we're like, oh, scared of heights and I hate the water, so I'm not getting on there. I'm just going to keep doing it this way, right? So it's about surrendering and leaning back and being available and really listening and really deciding that whatever comes to you, and this is where your intuition really comes into play, guys. This is why meditation is so helpful in this also, because you've got this inner compass that is your intuition that will lead you to the right place. If you say, universe, give me some money, I'm dying over here, help me out, and they send you the world's most expensive wealth consciousness coach, you're in, right? So what you gonna do? I went out and got myself another credit card and paid her $7,000 that I so did not have at all. I mean, that was like, nearly a quarter of my annual income. It was ridiculous, but I was ready and I did it. And just the very act of paying her that money freaked me out so badly and kicked my ass so far out of my own comfort zone that almost anything else I had to do from that point out was child's play for me, because my big thing was money and not have any, and not spending it on myself until something else happened, until I had the money in the bank, until I had a steady job, right? So it was that leap that I took, and I had to keep leaping, and then the nets starting to appear and started to appear and started to appear, and now I'm living in a completely alternate reality, and I honestly can't even really remember what it felt like to be back there. And that was on like a couple of years ago. Okay, so this really is, when it comes to wealth consciousness, it's about understanding that currency is energy. No, money is currency and currency is energy. Money is currency and currency is energy, okay? Now this thing I knew forever. I heard that 100,000 times. I knew it. I didn't get it into my fiber into who I was being until I started studying it and going to the spiritual gym around it and making a commitment to really work on this wealth flow, money, currency thing. And then I started to understand it. And then I could connect my energy to it. And then I started raising my frequency around it. And then I started attracting much bigger and better things to myself. But it doesn't happen unless you give it some time and some love. Okay? So it's really an incredible use of your time to study this stuff and get into the energetic field of where it is that you want to go. If it's about love, if it's about specific parts of your business that you want to build, study it, match your frequency with it, and most importantly, line up your desire with it. So when we are motivating ourselves and when you're motivating your teams, the most important thing is to get clear on this desire, okay? So even with the wealth consciousness, like I was sick of scraping by. I was sick of, every time I smelled something when I was driving my car, being worried that it was my engine instead of the hot dog stand down the street. I knew what I didn't want, but I also knew what I did want. The first thing that I really wanted was $15,000 to pay off my credit card. That amount of money I could feel in my bones. It was like a gorilla standing on my neck, that debt. I hate being in debt. It makes me crazy. And so I went into deeper debt to learn how to get out of debt. But because my goal and my big desire was to get the hell out of that debt, and I was so emotionally connected to it, I was knocking down the walls. I did some stuff I can't even tell. I will tell you what I did, but crazy, scary stuff for the Jen Sincero, for the broke-ass, rickety-ass Jen Sincero. I did it all because I was so ready for that gorilla to get off my damn throat and stop being in debt. Now, if I had just said, I want to make $15,000, that didn't mean anything to me. It was the desire behind it and the energy behind it. And so think about that. Our brains are awesome. They come up with all these cool ideas and they help us through all these crazy situations. But it isn't until we are a freight train full of desire that we overcome the crazy obstacles, right? I mean, and this works in the opposite direction too. I mean, all the horrors in this world that are going on right now are emotionally based. If they thought for 2 seconds about what they're doing to another human being, they wouldn't do it, but it's an emotional thing, right? It's like a fever. But you can use this to your advantage. Get into a fever about it. Attach it to something that has so much meaning to you that all your piddly little fear, doubts, and worries, no matter how often they rise, this fever, this love will overtake them. Love truly is the strongest power. Love is greater than fear. So when you fall in love with your desire and you connect to the specifics of it and you study it and you have mantras and you say affirmations and you speak in the present as if you are already there and you visualize this and you feel it and you feel the joy in your body and you're going for it, and then you got to spend $7,000 on a coach that you barely even know, but she says she can help you make money. You go and you get that damn credit card and you spend that money. You are not looking back. You are only looking forward. You have burned the bridges behind you of the way you used to be, and all the doubt, fear, and worries that are standing on those bridges are now in the water in flames because you are only focused on the forward excitement that you are moving towards. Okay? So this is why you get clear on what your desires are. With your business, how much money do you make? Do you want to be a diamond? Do you want to be a star diamond? Why? What is that going to bring to you? What is that money going to bring to you? How are you going to help people with that? How are you going to help your team? How is it going to feel to be a leader in that capacity? When you're motivating your team, find out what lights them up. Do a survey. Ask them, if you had all the money in the world, let's say I just gave you $2 million tomorrow, okay? No strings attached. What would you spend that money on? Ask your team that specific question. Or if I gave you a free year where you had all the money and all the free time that you had that you could possibly use, how would you spend that time? Find out where their hearts are. Find out where your heart is. No strings attached. Nobody's judging you. You're in a vacuum. So we don't care what the parents might think, what the best friend might think, or popular kid in high school might think. What is it that turns you on so massively you're going to go out and do the craziest, scariest things you've ever done to get there? Because you know this is your one and only life, your one and only chance on this earth to be the you that is you, and you are going to create whatever the hell you want because you can. And the way that you can do it is by staying attached to this and keeping that momentum and writing down your mantras. And you know, the reason we create vision boards is because we think in visual terms, right? If I say a blue car, you immediately envision a blue car in your mind when I say that. So the mind is incredibly receptive to images, but so many people, I know, I made a vision board. How often do you look at that vision board? Do you stand in front of it and actually feel it? Do you soak it in and imagine yourself standing there and just, you know, get all about your vision board? It's like reading Think and Grow Rich once and be like, oh yeah, I know that book, I read it. You got to go to the gym. Gym. You guys totally understand this, but get in there and really take this seriously. And I'd like everybody on this call right now to pick one specific chunk in a chunk of their brain. I want you to take a piece of your brain, a chunk of your brain, but think of the thing that would have so much meaning for you right now. If you could shift your mindset about one thing in particular, you know, mostly about your Beachbody business, but it can be in your life or whatever, because it's all related, absolutely. But think of something that you're like, you know what? I am bored. I am bored with myself. I am bored with my story. I am turning this bitch around, and I am going to do everything I know how to do to turn this around. I'm going to find books on it. I'm going to read them every morning. I'm going to meditate on it. I'm going to be grateful that all of the opportunities and the situations I desire are already here waiting for me to wake up. I'm going to surrender and lean back. I am going to take risks. I'm going to get smartened about it. I'm going to take classes on it if I need to. I'm going to reach out to people who are kicking ass on it and get support. Take it seriously. So just pick one thing for now, and this is going to be the water in the Grand Canyon, right? So you're going to start to become the kind of person who doesn't sit around and settle for what you can get, but you go out there and you create what you want by making this decision and becoming the kind of person who creates whatever it is that you desire. Alrighty, where are we time-wise? Oh, wow. Okay, so I am going to so we're going to get to the Q&A, but again, wish I had a mirror that I could put this in. 8weekstobadass.com/Beachbody. 8weekstobadass.com/Beachbody. And you will be sent the transcript of this talk and some information about future trainings I'm doing. And we can stay in touch that way too, which is super awesome. So thank you guys so much. I cannot wait to talk to you. So Jeff, what do we do?
Yes. So that link was posted in the chat if you guys need it. So go ahead and copy it from the chat and go there and get the notes. Jen, you killed it. Okay. Like I actually did exactly what you told us not to do. I was taking notes. But I'm telling you, I'm excited to go home and get into my own little gym and start working on my mindset. So thank you. We do have a few minutes left, guys, for you to ask questions to Jen. So if you have a question you would like to ask her, just unmute yourself and ask.
Unmute your stuff.
And don't let fear hold you back. Come on.
Exactly. And all of those hundreds of New Yorkers, I'm from New York. I want to hear from you. God's from New York.
Oh, they have questions. They got questions. Yeah, come on up.
Not formulated yet. But,
Hey, Jen. Hey, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for your time. It was great hearing you.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be with you guys. I love this whole situation. So thank you. My pleasure.
All right, here we go.
Hi, Jen. First of all, thank you for being here. I love your book. My question for you is, what resonated for me was how you mentioned before how you just have these bursts of awesomeness. And I think a lot of us have experienced these bursts of awesomeness in our business and then lulls. Where would I go? And you gave a lot of tips in the book, but specifically, if I've gathered tactics from your book and had the burst and had a lull again, where would I go in terms of reviving that and making it longer lasting? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we do wax and wane naturally. We cannot be, at an 11 all the time, or we will probably collapse. So first of all, it's okay. But if the lull goes on too long, then I am going, so I just want to say that, but I highly recommend while you're kicking ass and you are riding the top of the wave to Victoryville, pay attention. And again, specifics shall set you free, guys. This is so important. We tend to get so caught up in what's happening that we forget to really pay attention to the specifics, which are the key to success. So specifically, what are you doing when you're riding that wave? What are your habits every day? What are you waking up and doing first thing in the morning? How are you feeling? What are you thinking about? Who are you hanging out with? What are you reading? Notice it while you're in it. And this is a great thing. Again, this is why we say that awareness sets us free. So it's not just about being aware of all your shitty beliefs and thoughts and actions. It's about being aware of all your awesome ones too, so that you can repeat them. And I think the most important one, honestly, when we're when we're kicking ass and taking names is to notice where we feel it in our bodies, okay? So when you're really rocking it, where do you feel it? Like, where is your, I call it my inner yippee skippy, like, where is that fire that really, my mind is obviously right here because you keep hitting it. Connect with that and be able, and then you can call it forth so you can feel it in your body and call out your superhero power when you need to get yourself out of that lull.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for a great question.
I have a question. I know you mentioned 2 books that you read for the wealth management, and I know you mentioned them in your book too. I listen to your book all the time, by the way. Just one question. Can you say the other one? I got the first one, but I didn't get the second one.
First of all, one is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And the second is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. They were both written in like 1901, and it's all old-timey about building the railroad and whatever. They're still completely relevant. And Wallace Wattles, I mean, who doesn't want to read a book by someone named Wallace Wattles?
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, one more question. Who is it going to be?
The next contestant.
We have a question here. Give us 1 second.
Okay.
Hey, how are you? My name is Natalia from the Bronx. So my question is, so you got the health coach, the wealth coach. I can't even say wealth. You see, that's bad. Wealth coach, and you, and you got out of debt. But what gave you the balls? Like, at what moment gave you the balls to be like, this is how much I'm worth? Like, this is how much I'm worth, and you ask for it. Like, what was it? What was that moment?
After I started hiring coaches and stuff. I'm really glad you're asking this question, actually, because I wanted to mention it and I forgot. So one of my biggest breakthroughs in wealth consciousness was understanding that, and I hope that this answers your question. If it doesn't, I'll go deeper with it. But I was terrified to charge anything for my services, right? Like, I was just like, I'm a fraud. 2 weeks ago, I was sleeping on a bench. Now I'm like charging all this money for my services. So because my coach said one of the smartest things to me, she was like, money is currency, currency is energy, right? So when you are at a certain frequency with money and you understand that it's an energetic, that's all it is an energy. What energy are you available to be at? What frequency are you available to be at? So when I was pushing myself way outside of my comfort zone, and which is, now I look back on it, I'm charging 10 times what I used to charge, seriously. But back then I was just like, oh my God, these people are gonna think I'm like snake oil sales, a thief, like terrorized. But didn't want to be broke ass anymore, and also wanted to be the kind of person who was successful. Successful people have an awesome relationship with money. They understand you're just hanging out. You're in the flow. It's an energy. I'm down with the energy of money now. Like, I love it. And so one of the things that really anchored it in for me was, let's say I was going to charge $100 an hour. Okay. Never charge that much. It was crazy sauce to me. But I wanted to charge 25 because I was more comfortable there and I felt like people would like me more and not judge me or whatever my shit was, right? The frequency of, but I didn't want to be broke anymore. And I was my desire was for this debt to be gone and to be playing a much bigger game. So if I shrunk to $25, which is not where my frequency was, my frequency was $100. Like, that lit me up. That got me out of bed in the morning. That got me excited to do big, scary things. $25, not so much. So it was the frequency that I was at. Terrified for the 100, comfy, but kind of about the 25. When you think of the energetic that you're putting out there, I charged the $100, right? Threw up in my mouth and then went out and charged $100. And because it's an energy, by charging $100, I am inviting somebody to come up to the $100 frequency with me. So the people who are going to pay me $100, the $25 course exists. That's somebody else's frequency. That's somebody else's, ball game. I'm $100. So you want to play at $100 level? You come up here with me. So what does that do? it raises them up like, holy shit, I'm paying Jen $100. And I'm like, holy shit, they're paying me $100. We're all but we're excited and we're scared and it's cool and everybody's stretching and growing, right? So you're literally doing people a disservice by staying small, by staying in lack, by staying in I can't and neither can you, so let's stay down here in the $25. Do you see what that is? And the other thing it did is it kicked my ass. I became a 10 times better coach once I started charging more because I was so freaked out. I was like, I gotta be on my game. I gotta really, you know, put out here and make it worth it. So they got value, I got value, everybody rose up, and it was exciting.
Thank you. Yeah.
They're clapping. Wow.
I wanted to know that I spoke a bunch of shit. I realized I had cursed the whole time, so I just wanted to make sure you got that.
I actually didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that?
Well, I said I hadn't cursed the entire time, so I stuck a bunch of shits in there. I dedicate those shits to you.
Thanks for sending all the shits my way. I appreciate that. Hey, Jen, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And what I'm going to do actually is unmute everyone. And can you guys show some love to Jen for a second?
Thank you.
I'm gonna. But not that much love, just a little love. Okay? Now, Jen, thank you so much. And one more time, it's 8weekstobadass.com/Beachbody. Thank you so much, and yeah, hope to see you again soon.
I hope so too.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.